All right, here we go. Another episode of Maine Responder. Billy's back.
I'm back.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Trish, noticed a social media handle. What is that?
You want to know the origins behind?
Well, yeah, if you want to say, because
Sure.
it was Trish the Dish, which I loved. First question, I was like, well, what dish? Or how are we talking about dish? And then I was like, if we're talking dish, what dish would I be?
Ooh,
You know?
Hey,
But please, I would love that.
that's a great question. I feel like the origin story is actually really boring.
Okay. All right.
But the looks I get from people these days when they see that handle, they're like, ooh. And I'm always like, really, it's not as exciting as it sounds. My friend in high school made me a mixtape, and it just said for Trish the Dish. I think because it rhymed. I guess little did we know that there could be other connotations to it. Somebody I was coaching last week was like, well, you know what it means, right? And I was like, no, not really. And she was like, it means you're a babe. And I was like, oh, I wonder if people are like, well, that's mighty egotistical of you.
I had a feeling there was something to
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah. Still have the mixtape.
so, well, what was the genre?
yeah.
What do you think the genre was?
Ooh, I mean, the dish. I go to like '90s R&B.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what it
Totally.
was. Yes. Yes.
Especially when it's a mix.
Yes.
That's what you're mixing.
All right, I like that. This is the Maine Responder Podcast. Real conversations about work, the pressure, and the lives shaped by service. There's no single lane here, no script, just honest talk. Let's get into it. If you were a
Yeah.
dish, a food dish, what would you be?
Maybe like I don't know the name of it. Well, it's like linguine and clam sauce that might be like
That's
slightly spicy.
Ooh. Fra Diavolo?
Yes, like a Fra Diavolo.
What about you, Billy?
Wow. That's deep.
I had time to think, so I knew.
Yeah, you did.
But there's a spicy element to mine too. So, what about you?
Man, that's a tough question. Man, I'm going to say the All-American Buffet.
Oh, jeez.
No, I don't know. The dish. What dish would I be?
Ronnie, you're back. We got Ronnie. We got Ronnie in studio too. What about you?
Studio. Ron, what do you got? I'm stuck.
Going with lasagna.
Yeah, I was. Your comfort food. You know what I mean? I can just nestle up in you. You know what I mean? So that's lasagna works.
I guess I'm kind of floating at the ribeye, broccoli, and mashed potatoes, garlic mashed potatoes,
Right.
I like that.
with a good little chimichurri on top. A little bit of everything, but some good meat.
Yep.
Stick to your bones, but a little spice of life in there.
All right. Well,
Golly.
so I'm a plate of nachos. That's it. A little cheesy, layered, spicy, like Trish, like you were talking about. And I love nachos. I had nachos yesterday. Made it easy for me to come up with that.
That is a good one.
But all right, so we're here today with. I never think of you as Patricia,
Oh gosh, yeah,
No.
no, me either.
but you wrote that's. So I was like, oh yeah, that's right. She's Patricia.
It asked for my full government
Yeah,
name, did it not?
It
Oh,
said
wow.
full name, yeah. So Trish, this is it's interesting because you work with us as our I don't even know what to call it, right? We can use that term like a embedded social worker or whatever, but in a sense it is. But you're actually a licensed
Clinical professional counselor.
and for the police department, community engagement specialist. So basically, you're here to provide resources and really just improve the department's goal of mental health policing, right? And doing that in a better way. And you've done a lot, even just in-house too. That's just kind of been light and cool, and great to have you around. But what's some of your other experiences? Some of the other stuff you've done?
Sure. For 11 years, I was federal first, the state probation officer. I like to say that I have encompassed all the careers that people generally hate or hate on. DHS worker first, probably the most widely disliked position in my career, and but probation and crisis work, and I ran a domestic violence intervention program for a couple of years before that got too tough and decided to kind of moving into a space where I could use my clinical skills. It's kind of in a more energizing way, for sure.
So yeah, so you have a lot of great experience, some experience that probably helps you understand the culture of a police department too. But today we're talking about something different, right?
Yeah.
Chronic pain.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of intrigued to hear what direction you want to go with this, and why chronic pain.
sure. I was thinking last week on my ride down to the PD. I was like, oh, have they done an episode on chronic pain? Because I've been experiencing chronic pain via sciatic issues since January, but technically probably a lot longer. But it is really like I've never experienced chronic pain like that before. And certainly I don't consider myself the poster child for chronic pain. Other people have lived with chronic pain for longer. I guess my question becomes I don't know how they do that from my own personal experience. And I started thinking about how would chronic pain, because I know how I feel, and I think about like that empathy piece. What would it be like to be an officer whose responsibilities it is like at a wide array of responsibilities at any given moment, having to respond physically to something, kind of like not knowing and having to go into work each day thinking like, oh God, how am I going to be able to do this? And how taxing it can be to experience chronic pain, and if it starts kind of bleeding into other issues too, right? Impacting our mental health, substance use, just kind of like our social interactions with others. So that's kind of part and parcel why I asked, like, have you done this topic? And I think this topic, there could be a lot of first responders out there who listen, who experience chronic pain every day. And just sometimes it's nice to, I think, hear people talk about it in a way that's like validating. Because I'm excited for the opportunity to just be like, to be able to suggest to people through this platform, like, before you start making suggestions, have you tried yoga? Have you tried stretching? Have you tried to just not say anything at all? And that
Bourbon.
might be that might be my preference. I do understand. But the suggestions overwhelmingly, I understand the care that's behind it, but the suggestions overwhelmingly I find sometimes frustrating, or I feel isolated actually, because I've seen like kind of a pity look,
Mm,
right? But I can tell it's like sympathy, but it's like it automatically like makes me feel excluded
mm.
because I'm now like this person with chronic pain and I can't do what other people do. I don't assume that my experience is universal, but that's why I thought like, so there's just many reasons why I thought like chronic pain might be a good topic, especially for first responders.
Yeah, I think it is. I've actually been dealing with back pain that I'm just ignoring. I mean, I went to the doctor, he's like, "Oh, do physical therapy." I did that once for like tennis elbow, and I'm like, "I'm not going to do that." Like, it just didn't seem. I guess it just didn't seem like something I wanted to do. Maybe I should have done it. But so, what do you do? I mean, you talk about yoga. Like, is it practice yoga? Is that how you say it?
Right.
How do you,
Do you do yoga?
do you do? Yeah,
Do
exactly.
I practice
Yeah.
yoga? No, currently, well, what's interesting about it too is that technically there's some interventions that are geared towards reducing chronic pain, but what I'm learning is that those interventions may not work for certain people, or it only works temporarily in reducing pain, depending on what the chronic issue is. I'm going on like probably 10 weeks and substantially better than I was before. I'm doing some yoga movements, but certainly not yoga. I'm in PT, a different kind of PT than I was in before, practicing kind of like really the basics. I'm back to the basics, really. One thing that, I'm reading everywhere is that you have to continue to move. You have to continue to move throughout your chronic pain because while resting may feel better, it isn't necessarily better for the rest of your body. Because, people might experience chronic pain in more than one location. I can acknowledge that. But if you have chronic pain in one location, is it serving your body to not do anything at all?
Mm.
So, primarily, I say physical therapy, acupuncture. Um, I'm on certain medications right now to try to help me like work,
Mhm.
sit, ice, heat, but that's primarily what I'm doing.
What's offered the most temporary relief? Has there been anything that you've tried?
Physical therapy has worked really well. She tapes up my back, that helps. And Advil currently is my friend, though long term Advil is not our friend. And so Advil helps. And I love acupuncture. I'll never not say that. Billy and
Absolutely.
I have had conversations about
Yeah.
acupuncture, and
Swear by it.
I there's just whole body relief. Whole body relief.
They left a needle in your head, right, Billy?
They did, yes. Yeah, that was a fun one. We did talk about that. Yeah, acupuncture for me was a big benefit and one of the grounding areas of my, recovery from back pain as well. I had 2 blown discs, and same thing, you felt that same isolation of, "What can I do? I can't do anything." And you're right. People would be like, not gonna call Billy because he can't do this anyway."
Yeah.
And it does, it sucks, so mentally that sucks. And the acupuncture thing, very funny. Had my appointment, driving down the road, and I go to scratch my head, and I go, "Whoa." Had a needle right in the top of my head. I'm glad I didn't go into the grocery store with a needle in my head, though. Comedy relief.
Oh, right. Or have you ever gone into the grocery store after having when they do the suction cups?
Oh, yeah. People are like, "What the?"
Yeah.
And this was back before cupping was quote unquote cool.
Yeah, but is it really that cool? I mean, I was gonna say, like, talk about that because I think if you consider our world, first responders, like it's probably not the yoga type. It's probably not that or cupping. It probably isn't. I bought one of those cups just to see, and I was like, "Oh, that thing's sucking me." Like, I got scared. I was like, "That thing's in the corner collecting dust." I'm like, "I'm good for now until I have like somebody who's done it." Um, but these are things I think that are probably awesome. I mean, you both know I'll try anything, but what is it? And I look to both of you to kind of jump in on that. What would uh, you know, captain of the fire department for 20 something years who his idea of cupping is probably a lot like mine. If it's, a cup of bourbon or a cup of coffee. So what is that like? Can you explain?
There's a couple different avenues you can go with. Professionally, when you go to an acupuncturist, it's typically a glass cup that gets inverted. They put a little alcohol swab inside it and then light it on fire. And it kind of gives that little, that
Yeah.
magical look of flame coming out of the glass, and they put it on your back. The flame is gone,
Yeah.
but that increases suction, and they adjust it on your skin to get the right amount of suction. And they find your sweet spot. They'll track it. They'll just keep going up and down, and then they'll just leave it on one spot. What that does is it increases blood flow. So if you got a spot that's injured, there's, I would say, dead blood or lack of circulation in that area. So not dead blood, but lack of circulation in that area. You need movement.
Mhm.
The cupping increases the movement to that area. So it's going to draw out that inflammation and that damaged body, more or
Mhm.
less, and draw in new, fresh lymphatic fluids, blood, and just create blood flow, create heat,
Mhm.
and create space to get that out. And you're left with basically a hickey, a bruise for a little bit of time in the shape of a circle. And sometimes, I've had points where she had put a row of cups on each side. So my spine was lined on either side with these glass cups. So 6 to 8 cups on either side of my spine going right down. And she just let me sit there for a few minutes, 10 minutes, and let it go. And you feel great, but
Well, all right. You feel what do you mean you feel great?
you feel loose, like it's a massage.
Okay.
Yeah, almost like a massage, but without that deep penetrating. Because sometimes with these injuries, you can't do massage because that deep penetrating massage is going to be bad for your.
Paint this picture for me. I guess this is what I wanted to get at, right?
Okay.
I want to go cupping. I'm going to walk in. Is there music on?
Oh,
Is
okay.
there like, is it, a little bit of a seance? You know
You
what I mean?
gotta
This
remember
is
who
what
we're
I'm
talking
saying.
to here. So
Well,
yes,
well,
yeah,
but I think we're talking to
Mm-hmm.
everybody else, and yeah, I don't know that that's why I was like, I'm going to buy one cup and try to figure it out with YouTube, So is it very uh, calm, meditative, hot stones? I think that's what
absolutely,
people would want to know.
absolutely. I think that's exactly it.
I mean, if somebody gets regular, I'm gonna say, body work in terms of massage. I've only had that, like, I've only had cupping done in the context of getting a massage, and so already, like, picture 'em if you've ever received a massage, um, picture what like um, what's the I can't remember the name of the instrument, right? But the, lots of ambient noise, calm
Like a
environment.
harp,
Kind of. It's,
like the angels, or
right? Yes, yes.
I could get down with that, I guess.
So imagine this soft lighting, maybe a candle or two set off to the side, nice table, massage table stretched out,
Warm. It's warm.
warm. There's heat pads on it
Mhm.
already. Take the heat pads off, you lay down. They'll even put some warm rocks on your back. Get your body warm.
Deep thoughts with Billy Drees. Excuse me. All right. All right. All right. We got off on there, but
Yeah.
I know there's a lot more first responders doing this than probably admit.
Agreed.
But and it's all kind of becoming front and center, right? But I guess the question is, does it work?
I can't describe a level of relaxation that I achieve in any other way than when I have acupuncture. Like, not only am I, because a lot of people will say to me, like, "You look relaxed." And little do they know that, like, every, like, fiber of my body is, like, tense as hell. And that I'm just sort of, like, keeping it all in. And so it's kind of like one of the opportunities where I'm just like, like, if anybody's ever had that experience where, like, literally they can feel their shoulders actually
Yeah.
climb down to where they're supposed to be. And so for me, that's one of the many benefits. I just think it's kind of wild that it treats a bunch of different issues that you can have. It's been around forever. There's different things that they can do. They can hook up some of the needles to a stim machine. So it runs like a small electrical current in through the needles, helps kind of like get more blood flow to the area. Um, Anybody who's considering acupuncture, if you've had dry needling, my acupuncturist is kind of snarky, but she considers dry needling to be kind of like the tougher cousin of acupuncture, but done by, as she put it, um, less educated individuals, which is like, it's still done by physical therapists, but they're not acupuncturists, right? Like, so they took a class to do dry needling. So if you've had dry needling and you're like, "Oh, I've had that done. That worked really well." Think about, it's like dry needling and you get to nap
Yeah.
for 45 minutes. Like, is anybody here against a nap?
You're dealing with this every day,
Yeah.
right? Pain every
Yeah.
day. How it probably impacts your mood, what you're going to do, what you can do, right? Or
Yeah, fair enough. I do consider a lot of first responders to be of similar ilk. Not everybody, I think, falls into this category, but there are a lot of type A's, what we consider, type A personalities in law enforcement, which means you're uber productive. Part of how you define yourself is in what you do and what you can accomplish in a day. Not to mention that I don't think administration looks kindly on people just like hanging out. Right? Like, there's a part of the job that is like being present in a car. You don't have to actually be, nobody can see my air quotes, but doing nothing, so to speak. Right? That's called like directed patrol. You're sitting there, your presence like is hopefully slowing down cars. But if you have kind of this personality where you're like, I got to get stuff done. Um, and then you're suddenly like, whoa, oh my God, like I'm getting a quarter of what I want to get done. So then, I I kind of picture that can take a toll on how you define yourself. There might be some negative self-talk somebody has, like, uh, just about who we are, not accomplishing these things. Feeling like it's this kind of like cloud. I just describe it as like this cloud, like Eeyore, right? Winnie the Pooh, if everybody remembers that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just this kind of dark cloud. And this also all depends on the frame of mind I think people kind of have as well, and even getting into pain. But on the days that I am working with clients sitting in a chair, that means having to be like really present for, about 50, 55, 60 minutes and being on and trying to like meet with people in that way. And by the end of the day, I'm exhausted,
Mm.
like exhausted. My social battery is probably like non-existent. And I was looking at research in preparation for this, and the social battery piece, particularly I looked at research about chronic pain and law enforcement. And so you're talking about individuals who are putting everything they have into their work. And then what does that leave for first responder families? You're not getting out and doing some of the things that you enjoy, in part because depending on the pain issue where it's coming from, you can't. So then you're stuck at home. Presume if you've given everything you have to work, what's it like for families when you get home? If your social battery is as low as mine, ooh, do you let somebody know? Like, I'm not feeling it tonight. If you have young kids, my child is an adult,
Mhm.
thankfully, because I am not sure how I would tolerate having my son was very energetic, and so how I would tolerate having a really energetic child in a time where I just want to like lay down on the couch and kind of do nothing at all. Is that like,
Absolutely.
I don't know what it was like for you, Billy, when you had kind of your back issues and working, but
Well, I guess that was fortunate for me. I wasn't working law enforcement during that time, but I ran a farm. So trying to balance all that was very difficult. And like you said, I mean, that was my aha moment, was laying on the floor when my youngest was cutting the hair on my legs, laughing, and I didn't know what she was doing. I looked back and I'm like, yeah, this is great. So yeah, you're at the will of everybody around you, and you kind of have to be able to have a good communication with them and say, hey, I need space.
last week, I think, because my office is right next to the chief's, it was like, "Hey, come in here for a minute." And I'm like, "Yeah, hold on. That'll be more like 2." Because I have to get up carefully, walk over carefully, and kind of like consider each step. Like, there's nothing fast, and I'm not a slow person. Like, I walk fast, I try to get like a lot done. And so, like, even having to slow down is like, okay, having to remember I can like get up off the floor from. All of these like minor patterns in our bodies that we don't realize that we do that have a tremendous impact on us. Like, I tend to stand on one leg. It's really ruined how I like to sit too. I have to sit properly, apparently. Like, posture's supposed to be something, but and kind of being in or around first responders for so long, it's also kind of this, if somebody doesn't want to talk about the pain that they're experiencing, are they shorter with their coworkers than they might normally be,
Right.
leaving some people to say, like, what's going on with this person? My tolerance levels are, I laugh because it's my self talk that is the most entertaining, but my tolerance levels are really low. And so I can only imagine in a kind of like what can be a frustrating job in terms of you never know who you're going to interact with, and what it would take in those interactions to just, keep calm or keep composure when as I call it, window of tolerance, right? That's the therapeutic term. Our window of tolerance when you're in pain is very small. And usually they say window of tolerance, you're going to, if you're charting outside of your window, you're going to go either kind of hypo, which is withdrawal, shutting down, isolation, or you're going to go hyper. And hyper is yelling, having the external reaction that might come across as like aggressive, assertive, um, typically kind of a little over the top than what the situation might call for. And so then you kind of have, I think it's like this cyclone or um, snowball effect of chronic pain depending on somebody's attitude. Are they want to talk about being willing to try anything, right? Like, are they going to try something like um, mindful non reactivity? Are they going to try things like trying to focus on somatically, trying to focus on areas of their body where they're not in pain? Or are they going to, I think it's really easy to also just sort of sit in the abscess of what our pain is and just bathe in it. And that will probably not be helpful. So then, as a way of getting out, is there substance use? Is there, what other mechanisms that kind of that may seem like they're working, but the negative consequences are too great at times. But, what are the other coping skills that people are using? And so then you have substance use, you have isolation, you have, um, shorter window of tolerance or smaller window of tolerance. It's just it's a really a kind of a snowball or avalanche into dangerous territory.
I'm just thinking of like how many times, have we, had an officer that maybe was dealing with something and we just didn't know. How do you recognize that stuff, right? And before it's substance use, right? Before it's too late. That's interesting. And right now, I'm definitely that guy who's got some pain and I'm just really ignoring it. I think I'm doing what a lot of people would do is and to the point I do things a little bit different. Just it's some of those little things that you take for granted. And I just say, I'm getting old and use that as the excuse, but it's probably so much deeper than that. I guess I should probably go do something about it, to be honest. But one of the things, Trish, you talk about, because you're dealing with this. You've been somebody who's avidly worked out since high school, I think, right?
Hmm.
How do you manage that with the pain? You also coach, right? I'm like, all right, she's in all this pain, but she's also at the gym, like getting down. So how does that balance? How does that work?
Or not getting down.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I still go to the gym because I think I said earlier that, by all accounts, you got to continue moving,
Yeah.
but you have to move differently. I heard this quote, I think it was last year, and it's been rattling around in my head, and I'd share it with clients because I think it's great. And then this happened, and I'm like, wow, Tricia, you really did not understand the meaning of this quote like you should have. And the quote is, choose rest before rest chooses you. And initially I was like, yeah, means take a rest day, right? Like, yeah, okay. Think it means a little bit more than that. And I fully admit that I got myself into this situation because, much like you, I was experiencing some pain. And I was kind of like, oh, this is just like, it's a consequence of working out as hard as I do, right? Like, well, I just have to put more effort into mobility. I have to put more effort into strengthening my structural muscles, like the smaller muscles that help stabilize us. And I did that. I did PT. And then I was like, getting worse and getting worse. And I would not stop. Like, I probably started doing things differently a little too late.
Mm.
Like, I should have really modified my workouts much earlier than I did, but I also am kind of like, I hate to admit this, but anybody who knows me knows, but I'm just so hard-headed. And in the gym, I usually say, like, I work harder, not smarter.
Mhm.
And that is, I don't say that as a way of like, be like this kid. I say that in like a don't Homer Simpson
Yeah.
kind of lesson. And so, yeah, coaching's been really tough. I've been contemplating kind of like taking a break from coaching because I can't even do most of the movements right now that I would be coaching. So, like, in order to demonstrate, I'd, you know, it would not be good. It'd probably, fall back
Yeah.
in terms of progress. But yeah, no, I've had to kind of reassess what working out looks like or even goals. Like, having a goal of just like, you know what, I want to be able to walk a lot when I'm 85.
Yeah.
I want to be in like some sort of a village or, center for seniors. And I want to be like the fast walking champion, perhaps. But I still would just like to be able to walk. And as I get older, I kind of like get more in touch with those long term goals as opposed to the short term. Because working out, like, especially depending on where you work out, if it's kind of like a um, community style, functional fitness, like CrossFit, that it's really hard for me to like keep my eyes kind of straight forward and stay focused on what I want to do because I'll see Sammy over there squatting, her PR, and I'm like, "Oh, I could put a few more plates on, right? Like, how am I feeling today?" And then it's like, Why am I like this?"
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the interaction between the pain and then kind of again, I'm dedicated right now to being like, what are the lessons that I need to take from this
Yeah.
experience so that I can make some real changes and not experience this again if I don't have to.
So if you go back, think about when the pain started. Did you spend some time just ignoring it and just working through it? Maybe you mentioned that already. And then how long was that? I think you had mentioned that this can impact municipalities, right? This can impact shift work. Most importantly, the person who's dealing with the pain. When was it that you were like, wait a minute, this isn't getting better? This isn't just something that needs a little heat or ice, and then you're going to be fine.
2 years?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you mentioned, did you say hard-headed before?
Something like that, right?
You just reminded me that municipalities, when I was reading one of the research articles, uh, this is a loose estimation, but out of a sample size of like 600 something officers, it was like 13,000 days off that they took
Wow.
I think it was kind of like a 6-month period. So we're talking about substantial time off for municipalities, filling schedules, which I think kind of currently is a real issue already outside of,
Yeah.
somebody having pain. And so, like, that's, yeah, 2 years. And in part, I don't like to take time off to go to the doctors.
Hmm.
There's that. I tried to address it a little bit in terms of like, I go see a chiropractor. Somebody might suggest a chiropractor. I go see them. I'm noticing that it's not improving. I go do something different. Um, and I kind of kept this cycle and really didn't like do what I needed to do sooner. Or even like I don't know if anybody experiences this, but I kind of have this like people pleasing thing. And I'd gone to see a PT, but I probably should have stopped when I realized it was getting worse. And I probably should have stopped sooner than I did. But I kept going. Again, it's like, is this like hard headed versus like, I don't know, not wanting to disappoint a professional that you hire? It doesn't even make sense.
So you felt that the PT was making it worse, not better?
Yeah, I mean, overall, that's kind of one of the things that I've assessed
Mhm.
because I think we didn't have information from scans, which I just recently got. So we didn't have information from scans, but part of my expectation was that they have the education that I am relying on, that, like, if I'm presenting to them, like, "Hey, I'm getting this, like, burning now going down my hamstring and, down the side of my quad, and, like, I can kind of feel, like, my calf getting tight." And, when I talked to my current PT, she's like, "Yeah, that's nerve issues."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, cool, you know that." So, like, it would have been what I really needed was somebody to say, "That's a nerve issue, Tricia, and you should really stop right there and, like, discontinue whatever it is that you are doing, and we'll come up with something else." But instead, I get no limitations, Just, you gotta continue to move. And I was like, and for me, I'm realizing, okay, that's not helpful for me.
Mm.
That might be helpful for somebody else, but when you're work harder, not smarter, that outlook is not helpful.
Yeah.
Like I need somebody to help me put the brakes on. Period.
Yeah, I agree with that. You do get that feeling of, well, they're educated in this. I'm going to keep going. And this pain, I guess, is normal because I'm just pushing. You've got to push through it. You got to continue to move. And I've said it, just keep moving. Just, I've said it to, I've said it to you. I've said it to a lot of people. Hey, just don't stop. Just keep moving, work through it to a degree. To a degree. What's that degree? So, and that's where the professional comes into play and should know that degree of, okay, now this is a hard stop. We need to pivot and go from a different angle because yes, that's nerve. I've had it.
Mhm.
Holy cow. And then it hurts. That's okay. Keep going, keep going. But it still hurts. And now I can feel it in my toes. My toes don't have muscles. I shouldn't feel that in my toes. No, that's nerve. And so I know your frustration. I've
Mhm.
had that same exact thing. So where is that? We rely on the professional to bridge that gap, and you just got to find the right one, which is frustrating.
Well, Billy, where are you now with it?
I'm doing great. I think my component is inflammation.
Mhm.
I'm toning that down based off of nutrition and, my biomarkers that we talked about. Getting good control over that. And man, I'm moving more.
Mhm.
I'm moving more with intention though.
Mhm.
And I feel like I have more stability. There'll be times where I do feel that in my calf and my toes. But it almost seems to me to be inflammation based. And I can say, I had a bag of chips. I had a bad couple of days of eating. Let's just put it that way. Bad couple of days of eating, having alcohol or something like that, and poor movement. And it'll kick on.
Mm.
And I'll feel it. And it's that, my calf, my left calf will get that sensation. And I'm like, there's nerve. There's a nerve going and it's inflammation. Another week goes by after dialing it in and going, okay, I recognize that. I'm not drinking. I'm going to eat non-inflammatory foods. I'm going to take all the supplements that I'm supposed to take for inflammation. I'm going to move with intention. And about a week after that, I start to notice the positive return.
Mhm.
So I'd say I'm doing good with it. It's just, it's a constant, back pain is a constant struggle. I don't think it's ever going to be a point in my life where I can just say,
Yeah.
oh, it's okay. It doesn't matter. It's going to matter. Everything for me is going to be focused on my back health.
Yeah, and when you think about, for the moment, focus on policing, I mean, it is a lot of sitting. And yeah, hopefully people are staying fit. You sit in the car, you sit in the office, and it's a little more sedentary, I think, than people think. Right? A couple minutes of action and then a lot of time of report writing, sitting at the desk or sitting at the computers. Trish, what would you say? What would be a piece of advice you would give to anybody that's experiencing pain? And I guess one of the things might be like, don't wait 2 years, right? But yeah, from your experience, like, what would you pass on? Don't do this or do this.
One is I encourage everybody to learn their body signals,
Mm.
or at least get kind of acclimated to their body signals. Previously, we've talked about wearing watches, or what are they called?
The whoop.
Yeah, like Whoop, or your Apple Watch, like anything that's kind of like giving us these performance markers. But I also kind of see it as we're relying on, a device to tell us what our body's doing. Great if you're dialing stuff in,
Yeah.
but I think it could stand as a impetus between kind of like somebody getting to know their own body signals. That's one. So like getting to know our body signals, and if you know yourself well, you probably know, and not worrying about taking a day off to go to the doctors to go talk about it, at least get the process started. um, talking to somebody who you know might have experienced the same kind of pain you have, if you know about it. I think any PD could be lucky if they had like a Billy at each one, who kind of serves as this, like, hey, I'm open. Yeah, I've had this problem before. This is what I'm doing to take care of myself, and like making taking care of yourself seem kind of, for lack of, none of the cool kids are saying this, but cool. Um, and like taking care of yourself in a way like, oh, what do I notice about what I'm doing in terms of like eating, activity, and how my body's feeling, and making note of that.
Mhm.
Oh, when I do this, it feels worse. As opposed to kind of like, well, I guess that's just how it is. Going like, no, I don't think this is how it's supposed to be. Maybe I could take care of myself a little bit better. Somebody I know had reposted a video where the whole point of the I guess their, I don't know if it was a podcast, but of what they were saying is kind of like, we don't see other people oftentimes being like, yeah, you know what? Like, you should go home and go to bed early, and get the rest that you need to perform the next day. Oh, no, I totally get it. You don't want that extra beer or a beer at all. That's cool, man. Great. Like, get at it. Yeah, you should drink that water. And in law enforcement, it's a lot of like, what are you doing that for? What's your problem?
Yeah.
Right. And we're like constantly razzing on people for doing like, oh, you big baby, like gonna go home early and go to bed. That we're never like razzing people to like level up. We're razzing people to level down.
Right.
Right. And so like, that's kind of a tangent. But considering how you're feeling, going to a doctor, like pain is not normal,
Mhm.
unless it is your normal already, I guess. But like, what is your normal level?
Yeah.
And what does it feel like if it increases? But just sort of like paying attention and like, you know what? If you have to work like less, if you have to do less of something in order to like feel good, it doesn't make you a different person. You're still the same person. And that, like just because like even experiencing pain doesn't mean anything either. And honestly, like you can continue moving, but move differently.
Mhm.
I always think of like, what's the definition of insanity?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Doing the same thing over.
Yeah.
Thing over and over.
So what you just said, it was so interesting and so simple, and I'm always thinking about culture and those little things, that we get right, get wrong. But you're right. If we get the opportunity to go out together and we're having a beer and somebody's like, "No, I'm good." You're like, "No, no, no, no." Well, then we're doing a shot,
Yeah.
and that peer pressure is there. But imagine if we took a moment to celebrate that person, just like you said. There's a lot of great information in this today, Trish. This was actually really good, way more informative than I could have imagined. But a little takeaway for me is just if somebody doesn't want that beer or the nacho, although that's my dish, my spirit dish.
Food's off the table. Like,
Okay.
food's
All right.
different.
Food's food. Okay. So yeah,
Right,
yeah,
so
like,
food's different.
then that's great. Like try to, change that behavior, right? It's almost like if they're doing the right thing, they almost get shamed and, until they do the wrong thing. So anything that I missed that you want to say before we head out here?
I think you had kind of alluded to it, and sometimes I forget because I also live in a different world of like therapy where it can be like open to
Mhm.
certain things, but like I would also say like muscle relaxation, somatic exercises, breathing. That also doesn't make you a certain individual. I had this observation from a different part of my career history, but like I've literally seen examples of people facing choices, like a decision to make. And it's their own belief system that eliminates all but a few choices. And they literally will be like, I didn't have any other choice, right? How many times has anybody, a first responder, interviewed somebody? And basically that's been their response, right? I didn't have any other choice. And if you think about it as a spectator, you're like, no, there's lots of choices out there. You've just excluded them. Think about what choices your belief system is excluding, and where did that belief come from?
Mm.
Like that's my therapy suggestion is that can you examine like some of these things? Like people might be rolling their eyes at like acupuncture or cupping. Um, where does that come from? Like it doesn't mean you're any sort of person if you go get cupping
Right.
or go see an acupuncturist. It just means you're considering alternatives.
Right.
And you don't have to tell anybody. Like there's that too. But that doing these things could help. You're effective, like for somebody who would be like, no way, never, right? Like you're effectively taking a bunch of different options, but that I might add, breathing is free. You're taking a bunch of options off the table.
Mhm.
So there is some self-reflection, I think, that's required as a part of this, and like in terms of making it through in a healthy way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I'm one of those people that I want to try it all. It's more of a confidence thing for me. I'm like, oh, I'm not going in there, like when I made the whole PD do yoga, but I brought the yoga instructor to the police department.
That's amazing.
We all loved it.
Yeah.
Just an example of like, if you just, for me anyway, if you get out of your own way and do it, it ends up being something that's pretty cool. Trish, thank you. I hope
Yeah, thanks.
I hope now that we got this one out of the way that you'd
Yeah.
be maybe a regular,
Yeah,
come on
plenty of
whenever. And
topics.
there's probably a lot. I know there's a lot more to talk about, and this was, like I said, this was really, really great. Billy, any closing thoughts?
We covered it. Did a good job. Appreciate your time, Trish.
Thank you.
I'm still reflecting on my dish.
Oh, did we not?
We talked about
Yep.
it, but I'm like, man, is that really? But
Go ahead. What does it come to mind? What comes to mind?
It's still there. It's still the ribeye, but I'm like thinking more depths of why and what, why I chose that and why it kind of hits me. I like the nachos. I like the spice. I don't know. I think the ribeye, it's a tough cut of meat, yet tender.
Okay.
Versatile too, because it can go with lots of different things. You can also prepare it in many different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's my point. I might look rough and gruff on the outside, but I'm tender,
All right.
hence the breathing with Billy.
That's right. Deep thoughts with
Deep
Billy
thoughts.
Drew.
That's just deep thoughts. But yeah, no, nothing else.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Trish. Lot of great information here. And do you want people to reach out to you? Like, do you have like a LinkedIn or something like that?
I do not have a LinkedIn.
Okay.
But
It's shady there anyway.
You could find me on other social media platforms under Trish the Dish.
Trish the Dish.
the
Perfect.
dish.
There you have it. Trish the Dish. Look her up. She's got a lot of good information. And if you're in pain, do something about it. I think after this conversation, I'm probably going to stop ignoring it because it's hasn't been 2 years, but it's getting there. So thanks again, everybody. As usual, stay safe.